Hi everyone, it's Janine Pickard-Green. I am the FinOps lead at MagicOrange. Really lovely to see everyone. And I'm here to tell you that your AI forecast is lying. We are traditionally operating on budgeting and forecasting that we all understand really easily, and AI is volatile in nature, and that completely changes the picture of what we're actually forecasting against. So most AI forecasts are wrong. They're not slightly wrong, it's not a rounding error, they are structurally wrong. And that's because we've been used to traditional, thanks, Rodolfo. We've been used to traditional budgeting and forecasting with linear demand, stable unit economics, and predictable consumptions. And AI breaks all three. It's volatile in nature. We have changes in token consumption. And as we've heard a lot on this conference, we need to be able to manage that and actually be able to control that. And the major problem about it is we're making assumptions that our demand curve for AI is going to be exactly the same as what we've actually traditionally dealt with. And then there's the timing issue. With traditional budgeting and forecasting, we have annual budget cycles, we have quarterly forecasts. Now with AI, a lot of the time we're actually dealing with a very volatile demand curve. We don't know when we're actually going and purchasing for a particular model what the actual usage is going to be, what our consumption is likely to be. And we know that it's actually going to change over time. And that doesn't fit with the traditional processes that we are using in an IT financial management environment. And the other thing is that AI is iterative, it's continuous experimentation. A lot of our organizations are still at that experimentation time. So we're really finding that it's actually particularly challenging to forecast for AI. And the other thing is demand is nonlinear. So we need to actually be able to solve for that. The other thing is the human element. And this is an area that a lot of people actually forget to include in their total cost of ownership of the AI. We have to think of the fact that we have to bring in data scientists, data engineers, machine learning operations, and all of those people are actually part of that overall model design that we're actually bringing into AI. And without them, potentially we're missing from 40 to 60% of our overall cost within our total cost of ownership. So as part of our actual understanding of our AI forecast, we have to bring those elements into the system. The good news is we've actually solved this before. A lot of us have actually dealt with cloud and SaaS, and we know that the consumption is very volatile. We know how much that actually upset our budgets and forecasts, and we know how to actually deal with it. So as FinOps practitioners, we have learned and trusted ways that we can actually manage our AI forecasts, and we can put those into play as we're going along. So there's a couple of ITFM principles that I wanted to chat about that are really key to it. And I'm going to go through 6 actual key areas that we need to focus on and think of when we're looking at AI forecasting. So the first thing is we have to put in financial guardrails. We've seen on all the keynote speeches that we've actually seen a huge amount of spikes in our demand. We've seen how much it's actually cost in the last 3 months. And we need to make sure that we start to put in those financial guardrails to actually control it. We also have to make sure that we focus on governance before optimization, and we have to make sure that we have visibility. A lot of us are finding that our AI spend is not just on our cloud bill, it's in SaaS, it's in all different areas. And to actually try and figure out exactly how much we're actually consuming is a big part of how we're actually going to manage that AI forecast. And that's really key. So there's 6 ITFM best practices that I'm going to suggest in the age of AI. Please bring in that people layer cost. You've got to think about the fact that when you're building a model, you're going to have data scientists, you're going to have data engineers. When you actually have that model, what are you going to do? You need to support that model. So you're going to have engineers doing model configurations and rebuilds. And also, as part of that change management process, you're going to need to have people with the right skills, and you're going to be continuously needing to upskill your staff in order to support the overall cost. So factor in that people layer in your AI forecast as part of that total cost of ownership. Then build a side-by-side comparison. So look at your old model and include your salary expectations, include the tools that you're actually using for your actual forecast, include all of those hidden costs, and then compare it against your new model. Include your GPU usage, include your API licensing, include your tokens, but also make sure that you're including any residual FTE costs or salary costs that are part of that. With that comparison, you're actually providing more insights to your actual CFO, and the CFO isn't flying blind and being able to compare between the two different models. And then please stop forecasting in a single range, because it's going to be wrong. So for the finance people, make sure that you actually put in a base so that it's actually low volume, token usage, stable demand. Then have a base forecast where you're actually saying this is moderate growth, this is what we're expecting to see. And then have the crazy forecast, which is the aggressive one, to say my volatile spend is going to go absolutely nuts and I'm going to have a lot of agentic workloads and I need to control that. Having that range means that you can actually control your forecast much better. Create an AI cost tower. If you're in the cost modeling space, you'll often find that your AI costs are actually hidden in your compute and in your storage. So carve it out into your cost model. Make sure that you have a separate area for infrastructure, a separate area for people costs that is solely based on your AI costs. And make sure that that's actually available for your organization so that you can clearly have visibility and actually make sure that you actually see the costs at play. Make sure you add a rolling forecast. So on a 90-day rolling forecast, you can still have your budget, which can be acting as your guardrail, but as your management tool, have a 90-day forecast and actually factor in exactly what you're actually expecting to see. If you don't make that 90-day forecast, reevaluate. Create a new forecast that actually factors in more guardrails. It's really important to keep progressively understanding your AI spend. And then the best thing, and one that we have to actually rely on, is the value conversation. We have to connect every single piece of AI spend to business outcomes. We have to understand exactly how much our AI is contributing to our growth as an organization. It's looking at unit economics. How much are we actually spending per claim? How much are we actually spending per contract? And factoring that into the value conversations that we're going to be having. So a little bit of a test. Let's think about where we are at the moment. So for most organizations, you probably find that you're just starting to get visibility of your AI spend. And you need to probably start thinking about building in that cost tower, looking at the tagging for your AI spend. The second stage is you're starting to allocate to different business units via showback or chargeback. Now start to actually look and see, okay, how do we add the people? How do we add that total cost of ownership to a bill? And the last thing is to make sure that we introduce that rolling 90-day forecast and really make sure that we're starting to connect the value, the business outcomes to our actual forecasts. So I'm going to leave you with a bit of a story. So we had a customer who's got a large language model, and this customer was able to actually drastically reduce their overall cloud costs. They previously were actually going and checking 20% of their overall claims, and for those they were checking with fraud and everything. And the AI process meant that they could suddenly do it 100% of the time. That's real value added. They were able to catch more fraud, and they're able to process a lot more. And the manpower cost of actually being able to do that would have been really substantial. But the problem is their costs suddenly started to spiral. So the first reaction, and we all know this from our cloud bills, everyone wants to cut the budget. They want to make sure that no one overspends. And all those savings and that gain that people actually had was completely lost. The good thing is, with AI visibility, it meant that they actually caught it early. They introduced batch processing for the workloads, and it meant that they actually understood exactly what they needed to do to make that change. That project wasn't cut, it was successful. And that's the difference between AI economics that worked and AI economics that are not successful. So as long as you build the right model, you're definitely going to be telling the truth. So thank you very much for the time. And if anyone's got any questions, we have a booth over there. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of our channel for more FinOps content. Like, subscribe, and leave questions and comments for our speakers. We appreciate your support.